what happens here, a lot of it is only possible with the partnership that we have with the town, and just very early on, just embraced us, embraced me, and enabled us to begin doing some of the stuff that has become what you're going to see today. So Celebration Sunday is important because I want you to have a feeling for all that is going on in this community of faith and the way that you are impacting the world, because that happens both here and across the globe. Our missions ministry team has money that they write checks for causes, and they write it for local things, they write it for global things. It is not just for here. So our impact goes all over the place. And the Prosser Fund that we have doesn't get a lot of attention in town because we try to keep it relatively quiet, but is for seniors, people who are 60 and over, who live in Bloomfield, who are struggling, who have some kind of big event that has crippled them financially, that if we can't help them with that, could put them on a downward spiral in their financial life for years to come. And we partner with social services. We don't even have the people necessarily know where the money's coming from. Social services let us know who these people are, and we write checks to help people to keep them from going down that spiral. We also have the pastor's discretionary fund, and that is the most flexible fund we have. And this is not a budgeted item. This is something on top of what's given to the church for the good work that we do, is given to the pastor's discretionary fund that allows me to help people in an emergency. It is something that we can just do in an instant if someone is really hurting. And let me give you just one example of many. I got a call from social services saying there was a mother with 2 children, single mother with 2 children, who was about to be homeless. I'm not going to go into the details of why that's the case, but it wasn't something that she had done. And they had 72 hours before they were going to be homeless. The town had gotten the money that the town could do. They had reached out to the state. They had dialed 211. They had gotten to other people, and they're like, you are the last place we can go. We need $2,000. We wrote that check. And that kept them from being homeless. And those of you who know these statistics know that a single day for a child to be homeless can be devastating for the psychology of that child for decades and the rest of their life. You did that. You changed the direction of these children's psychology, of their life forever, because of that support of that program. When you combine what the missions ministry team, the Prosser Fund, and the pastor's discretionary fund, $50,000, over $50,000 in direct cash assistance to organizations and individuals comes from this community of faith and changes lives and keeps them from spiraling downward in a difficult situation. In addition to that, one of the things that I love about this year is we've started developing new groups, new small groups. And one of my favorite ones that's a fun one that's developed is the Walks and Wine Group, right? It started off, that's their official name, Walks and Wine Group, and it's organized by the 2 ladies in the back there, Heidi and my wife Linda. And it started off as the hiking group, but then someone started putting something in their backpack, and all of a sudden it started to become the Walks and Wine Group, and so that's the name of it now. And so if you would like to join the Walks and Wine Group, go ahead and say something to Heidi or Linda or somebody else who's involved in that and enjoy that. But also craft angels. Craft angels, people, I've learned so many more terms for what you do with a needle and thread. Like I used to call it sewing or knitting, and I got in trouble, and I learned about crocheting and all these other things that they do. But this is a group of people who come together and do any kind of craft that you want to do. But the thing is, it's not just to do it for yourself. Everything they make goes to somebody else. The pocket prayer shawls that so many people hold or bring with them and just kind of rub throughout the day to help keep them calm or remind them of God's presence, or the beautiful blankets for babies or adults, or things that are brought to so many different places. Bunches of them have been brought to people in loaves and fishes, homeless people, people across town, all these things, all given that way. Plus the prayer group that's led by David Runis that is praying for people in this community of faith, and then things internationally to keep up with this both here and across the globe. And we have a new group that's being established by John DeHoyos and others, which is Dad's Group. Right, a Dad's Group. So many people, so many young father figures need examples and need people to gather on, and that is beginning now. And if anybody, you know anybody who could use that, let John, can you put your hand up? let John know or let me know, and we'll make sure they get linked up with this organization. Now, 10,000. One time, Jessica, who's the head of our Bloomfield Preschool and Child Care Center, said the diaper bank is low on diapers, and so the people said, well, go check the Connecticut diaper bank. They're like, Connecticut diaper bank's low on diapers. We're like, uh-oh. She's like, let's do a diaper drive. And we teamed up with the school and here and the community and others, and we set this ridiculously ambitious target. And you all and the community and with Jessica and the team and the school, we got 10,000 diapers in that diaper drive. Was anybody here? Does anybody remember how much 10,000 diapers was? Like, it covered this whole place. It was enormous, and it was beautiful. And it also got the attention of Commissioner of the Office of Early Childhood, Beth By, who came by to check out the diaper drive, and as a result came in and checked out what was going on at our school. And that will connect to something a little bit later. Now, also, we don't just do things outside. We have people within our community of faith who go through very difficult things. And we have a group called the Parish Care Group. I happen to believe it's the best one that it's certainly the best one that I've ever encountered. I can't imagine there being a better one. But this is a group of about 10 people who go and visit folks who are hurting, who can't get here, who make calls. They do hundreds of visits, make hundreds of calls, write thousands of letters, deliver hundreds of flowers for Christmas and Easter and other things to let people know that they are not alone. Some people have been coming here for years and then physically can't be here anymore. And they may watch the service, maybe watching the service right now, but they don't have that same physical connection. Our parish care team makes sure everybody who wants somebody to visit them has somebody to visit them, so nobody who is part of this community of faith is ever completely alone. It is a remarkable, remarkable ministry. And then some of the other things, the toy drives that we had. Judy and Roger Bunker here every year organize this remarkable toy drive that gets toys to hundreds and hundreds of children. And the youth group gets in on it, and they sell pies, and they take the money, and they don't take it for themselves to buy a new thing or to get themselves to go on something. They take the money, and they buy toys. And then we partnered with the sports groups and did another toy drive. Hundreds and hundreds of toys that brought more smiles to children and families and took pressure off of moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and other people who were caring for these children who were struggling to figure out how they were going to be able to take care of that. You helped make that happen. And then here, graduates, people who have graduated high school and are moving on to college. Next week, during Children's Sunday, which is going to be wonderful, part of that is we give scholarships to students. Typically, in any given year, $10,000 is given away in scholarships to the youth in our church so that they can have, look, my wife is a professor, right? A single book can be $300. Right? So I heard somebody say easy, right? $300 is easy, right? This kind of thing matters, and what's happening here, this kind of stuff matters to people on an individual, close level. Now, one of the things is the light is shining on this church right now. The light is shining on this church because of how much you are doing and the wonderful things you are doing. Anybody know what this 285, what that number means? Scott, you know what that number means. What does that number mean? That's the age of this church. This community, not this particular building, this is not the first building, but this community of faith has been part of this community for 285 years. And that matters because there is a lot of history here, and that gives us a strength from which to operate. But right now, in the 285-year history, the sun is shining on us right now. And one of the reasons that it's shining on us is because of the work that we are doing in social justice. And I know sometimes we get pushback saying, hey, you know, we talk about it a lot, but I'd like to do more about, we should be doing more about social justice. I would just like to acknowledge the degree to which we are doing social justice, even though it isn't necessarily front and center all the time. And one of those is in environmental justice. Because environmental justice is social justice. Because the negative environmental impacts hurt people of color and poor people disproportionately by radical amounts. Environmental justice is social justice. Del, will you bring up this? We put in this year and turned on in February our solar panels, right? Starting in February, that started to generate electricity, and we're doing that much, and we haven't even hit the peak months of June, July, and August. I want to show you some of the details about how much impact that is having. We've already taken 38,000 pounds of carbon dioxide out of the environment that would have otherwise been there, the equivalent of planting 290 trees. This statistic, we created this slide 2 days ago, that's already up to 40,000 pounds and 300 trees. Right? That is real impact in the community. That is real work that's going to impact us in other ways, in ways that we're going to be able to take money that's saved as a result and repurpose that into the community. But another area of social justice. Look, we're in our 4th year of Sacred Conversations where more people are learning about what it means about white privilege and all kinds of forms of racism, and you individually are impacting the world as a result of the changes that you have personally. But in addition to that, people in our community of faith are in other organizations like the Mosaic Project that is going on here in the community. Or some of the things about revealing some of the history of slavery that Reverend David Runis did a wonderful presentation on this for the community. And there was the voices of color and the voices of blackness and all this kind of stuff that are going on, helped to be organized by people in this community of faith. This work is being done. And then this 52. This may be the biggest social justice impact that this community of faith made this year. And Suzette made a reference to it earlier. The Bloomfield Early Learning Center is an institution in this town for years and years and years. It is another preschool, center in this area. And for reasons that we're not going to run them down or anything, but for various reasons, it just like all of a sudden it collapsed. It collapsed, and it was ugly. It was a very difficult thing. It was embarrassing for the town. It was embarrassing for them, embarrassing for a bunch of people. I'm not saying what led to that or anything like that, but it happened just such rapid fashion. People weren't ready for it, and there were 52 what are called slots. Slots are state-funded subsidies for people who can't afford the high-quality child care and preschool like we offer or others offer. And when they don't have those, they can't get good preschool. These are all preschool slots. Right? Because of how difficult it was, the town was going to decide, the town actually had decided to let those 52 slots go back to the state. That was going to leave 52 families in Bloomfield without the ability to pay for decent preschool because it was too inconvenient, because it was too difficult. Jessica found out about this. Jessica Salvador, the director of our Child Development Center, of our preschool and child care center. We got together, and on that day that we were celebrating the solar being built, we had invited a bunch of the people from town, a bunch of the leaders from town to help us cut the ribbon and celebrate turning the solar. And we're like, oh my gosh, they're all here. And so Jessica and I called and Suzette was here, and we called all the counselors over, and the mayor was there, and the deputy mayor was there, and we're like, this is a problem, this has got to change. And there was a fight, a debate, right there about whether they're going to do it or not do it. And she was on the side of goodness and light. And right? But the town was not going to do it. And so we started a lobbying campaign, went to council meetings, called people individually day and night about this is not okay. And to their credit, eventually after a lot of work and a lot of lobbying, they changed their minds and we saved the 52 slots for this town. That's social justice. You did that. Even if you didn't make the calls, even if you didn't even know what was happening. Because if we didn't have the preschool here that had the credibility of 60 years of existence, of 35 continuous years of accreditation in existence, if we didn't have the credibility of this congregation that when we say we're going to do something, that the council and the town and people in town know that we're going to do it, that we don't just give a promise we don't do, that when we promise it, we do it, and when we do it well. If you didn't have that reputation, if you hadn't already created this, this wouldn't have happened. That saved $400,000 of funding for this town and allowed students, the most disadvantaged in all of our neighbors, to be able to preserve that ability to have a good start to their education. And then my favorite, I know I'm not supposed to play favorites, but I do. Our food programs are my favorite. Yes, I love what we're doing here. Between the community kitchen that doesn't just give meals, but provides community, there are people who come into the community kitchen, nobody knows their name. I don't mean nobody in that room. People who come to the community kitchen, nobody knows their name. No friends, no family, isolated, whatever's happened in their life, nobody knows their name. And by the time they come the next week, they do. I don't know if anybody's ever been in a situation where nobody's knowing your name. The power of being seen, the power of being known is immeasurable. And the light on the faces of the people when they come back and someone yells out their name when they came is like the cheers of Bloomfield. No, right? Just a beautiful thing where everybody knows your name. And then the backpack program. 70 roller bags of food with 12 meals in every one, delivered 48 weeks a year. 48 weeks a year. And partnerships. We got this partnership going thanks to Suzette getting Rehoboth Church of God and the First Cathedral to the table, and now we've got Old St. Andrews and First Glastonbury and this place and other people in the community. We have so many people want to volunteer. Like we have to coordinate who wants to get what week because so many people want to work with the backpack program. Then Loaves and Fish is the longest running one that we have, where we provide 100 meals every month to a homeless shelter in Hartford. Right? All this, then the Thanksgiving boxes that the missions ministry team coordinates every year, the 66 boxes that go to families with children, right? 66 boxes with all kinds of food and cards from the children saying, Happy Thanksgiving. It's just a wonderful thing that's done. And then 150 turkeys. I don't know if you walked in here, you saw one of these trucks, one of these town trucks, stacked with food. If you didn't come in this way, go out this way and look at some of those pictures. We had 2 town trucks stacked with food, plus 150 turkeys that went to different organizations. When you add up how many meals, and you heard this a little earlier, 10% of the population of Bloomfield was fed Thanksgiving meals by these efforts. That is shocking for a community of this size. And when you add all of this up, the number that you get that you heard earlier, 40,000. Now, there's not an error on that slide. Morgan made this slide, and each of those tiny little dots, just so you have a perspective for 40,000, each of those tiny little dots on that screen is one meal. That's 40,000 meals represented up there. What you are doing is absolutely shocking and amazing. We have a couple other things to celebrate. The preschool and child care center has been doing remarkable things for children for years, but what's been going on right now has just been staggering. The need in the community has been great, and our ability to respond to help when other places closed, or just the need for the demand. The Office of Early Childhood Commissioner Beth Bai said, "We need more. Can you do more?" And we responded. And they need that across the state, but we responded. Here in Bloomfield, we went from 5 classes to 9 classes. We went from 18 teachers to 34 teachers. We went from 66 students to 96 students. But sometimes, these are just numbers. Sometimes it's nicer to see in pictures. So I've got 3 pictures to show you. This is 2 years ago. Then a year ago. All right? This year, 2 days ago. So we have an invitation for you, because one of the reasons this is able to be successful is because we've re-energized the partnership between our school. We don't rent. This is our school. We founded this school. We fund this school. We work with this school. Right? But for a long time, it became 2 separate entities that fought each other. And it's taking a lot of work, and we still have a long way to go, but Jessica has done a remarkable job partnering with us to try to re-energize this. And there are lots of rubbing points, pinch points. You see how much everything is growing? They're growing, things are growing. Like, there are a lot of places where things rub. And we're going to work on those, and that's going to happen. But because of the increased partnership, this is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. But you are invited to be part of this. If you have time and you would like to hold a child, a baby, if you would like to give a teacher just a half an hour break, if you would like to come and read to the preschoolers, if you would like to come and play or come play basketball during the summer program, you are invited, welcome, and wanted to be volunteer, as long as you can pass the background check. All right? As long as you can pass the background check. This is another area of success, and some of this blends between us and the school. These are all the grants that we got this year. We had an unprecedented role of getting grants this year because people in the community and people outside the community are now seeing the successes we have and saying, yes, you are a credible enough organization, and you're not just about putting money in your church coffers, and you're more about community than you are about yourselves, and so we can believe in that. We got $3,000 from Doncaster for the Bloomfield backpack program. We got another $5,000 for the backpack program from the Bloomfield Community Together Grant Organization, a group of neighbors here who have been given permission and an amount of funds from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving for really important initiatives for the backpack program. Another $10,000 for what we call the Garden of Curiosities. That remarkable thing that you see that has just been developed by John DeHoyos. And if you do nothing else after church today, when you go out for that party, walk through that. It is absolutely stunning, and we'll talk about that more in the future. We'll have a ribbon cutting, a lot of fun, but please spend time with that. But that was a joint grant application between the church and the Child Development Center. Then $13,500 in the competitive grant process that Carolyn Delgado and Cheryl Rice wrote with Food Share to improve our freezer storage capacity because of how much we're doing in terms of food, and Food Share wanting to support the work we're doing and the credibility we have with them. Then $25,000 and $29,000 that we got, one from the American Rescue Plan and one from another organization for a preschool playground, and this to fund the rest of the Garden of Curiosities that John built. That thing there was entirely funded by grants. And when you add all of this up, partnership between the two things, it's $85,500 in grants to this community. Scott, when was the last time that happened? Never. Never. Right? This is remarkable, remarkable stuff that is going on with this community of faith, not just because of the last few years, because of the credibility that you have built over 285 years, over 60 years, over 30 years, over 20 years, over 10 years, and we're just building on that and continuing to build on that. Now, some of you who have been around for a while know that I do this, that at the beginning when I first got here, I said, we're not going to have membership and money be our primary metrics anymore. Some of you who are here may remember that sermon where I threw M&Ms at everybody. Right? It said, the M&Ms of church or membership and money, we're going to start measuring other stuff. What is our impact in the community? Not the dollars we spend, not the dollars we collect, but what is our impact on the community? And 6 years ago, it was an impressive $56,000. That's a lot for a church of our size, right? But then, the next year, it doubled. And we said, as long as we continue to follow this guy, Jesus, as long as we continue to do what he tells us to do, as long as we follow how he showed us we're supposed to act, that we believe that we're going to trust that the Holy Spirit's going to show up and continue to multiply the work that we do. And the next year after that, it was $226,000. Then it was $332,000. Then last year, it's $360,000. That's coming out of COVID. Like almost everybody else went down. You continue to increase the impact there. And this year, that. That's right. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Someone like, we did confetti last week. Are we going to do it again this week? So I'd do it every week if I was allowed to. There we go. I would like to ask, or I am asking, Councilwoman Suzette DeBeetham Brown to come back up here. On behalf of Bloomfield Congregational Church, I'd like to present you on behalf of the town of Bloomfield this check, ceremonial check for $780,000, representing the impact that we collectively, as the town and this community of faith and other community partners, not just us, not just this church, but some community partners that you've helped put together and that the town has supported us with and the town is entrusted with the slots and all the other stuff that we couldn't do without you and people like Camilla Hillian and others and so many others in this community. Present to you and just say thank you and how deeply grateful we are for the town's partnership and our ability to make an impact on this community.
It's amazing. It's so amazing.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for who you are. Appreciate this. Enjoy this. Let this sink in, because this is what we're talking about. We talked about last week when we said we're going from a flicker to a flame. This isn't the flame yet. This isn't the flame yet. Celebrate this. Shout it out. Tell people about what is going on here, because it is special, and everything that you committed to and said, yes, we're going to take this venture, we're going to go on this, and the Holy Spirit will show up. The Holy Spirit has showed up. It's only going better from here. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for all that you do. Amen.